Welcome to The Outlet, an OTG production.
You are now listening to the NBA Outlet, presented by OTGBasketball.com. I want to thank you for listening, whether it's on iTunes, SoundCloud, or YouTube, and be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at OTGBasketball. My name is Parth, and along with me, as always, the site manager of OTG, the guy who makes everything run, Mr. Nick Fay. How are you doing, Nick?
What's up, Parth? I'm doing all right. Suffered a tough loss last night. My Packers took a hard one in overtime.
Yeah, that was a great game. I'm afraid to watch any of the other NFL playoff games just because I do not think they will live up to what we saw last night with the Cardinals and the Packers.
Yeah, it definitely. That was an exciting game. A lot of intrigue, a lot of craziness. Tip pass for a touchdown. Hail Marys to tie it up. Probably not going to see that the rest of the playoffs.
Yeah, but the good thing about that is now that the NFL season's kind of over for you and your team, you get back to NBA basketball and your beloved Brooklyn Nets.
I know. So much winning for me, I guess. But yeah, it's definitely tough to watch the Nets on a regular basis. I guess I got to deal with it and just hope for the best. I usually try to tell myself if the Nets are terrible, it means the Packers will be pretty good. So it kind of balanced out, but not good enough for how bad the Nets are.
Yeah, that's not – I feel for you, my man. I feel for you.
But hey, at least I have OTG, and today we got an exciting show for you guys. We're going to talk about Spurs versus Warriors, who's better, who's a bigger threat. We're going to take a look at our preseason rankings, take a look back at that. We're also going to talk about our League Pass rankings as well. So it's going to be a good show. And then, so for my weekly recap, I wanted to talk about Adam Silver. And on the game Thursday in London, he talked about possibly the NBA having earlier start times, especially with all the fan base growing in like China. Their games, I think there's a 13-hour time difference. So there's even been talk about possibly having games in the morning. So that would definitely be fun if you had NBA games throughout the whole day as a fan.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about the morning games, but I would be totally for having earlier start times on the weekends. I know, or on the weekdays. I know some games start. The early ones start about 7. I know the Washington Wizards always start around 7 o'clock when they're playing at home. But a lot of these other games, like 8 o'clock, 8:30 starts for a East Coast game, that's rough, especially when TNT and ESPN have double headers. First game starts at 8 o'clock. Next game probably gets underway at like 10:45. And if you want to watch the completion of the second game, and especially if you're on the East Coast, that gets to about like 1:30 at night. So I mean, I think viewership would go up, especially throughout both games, if those start times are moved up a little earlier.
Yeah, it's crazy. They have a doubleheader. You think about it. The Clippers and the Rockets tend to play a lot of the second games. And they got the hack of Dwight Howard, hack of DeAndre Jordan. So these games are ending way past 1 o'clock. Sometimes they're stretching out the game. So that definitely could help.
Yeah, and I know TNT always has late games for their doubleheaders too. And this past Thursday, my boy Shaq falling asleep on the set. That's when you know. That's when you know you have to move the games up a little bit.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
Chuck and Shaq have both fallen asleep on the set because it's so freaking late. And obviously, Turner's based in Atlanta, so they're up at like 2 a.m. trying to finish their show. And these dudes are tired, man. We're tired too as viewers. So
exactly, yeah.
I'm all for Adam Silver moving the start times up or attempting to.
Yeah, definitely be something cool. And I mean, the NBA is growing a lot internationally, so you got to help those fan bases out. Obviously, they want to watch the games. They don't want to watch them at the craziest times either.
Right. They actually had a commercial. This is why we play initiative that NBA is doing this year. Personally, I hate those commercials, but they have a segment in one of those commercials where they show 2 kids in China with their alarm clock set for 3 a.m. and they wake up in their Rockets jerseys and watch the game. So I totally get what Adam Silver's trying to do, and I'm with it.
Yeah, it'd definitely be something cool.
My one thing for the past week, I was watching Tuesday night, just was getting downstairs, was going to eat dinner, and I turned on League Pass, and I turned it to the Pistons versus the Spurs. This was right at, I believe it was halftime, and they were coming into the third quarter. And I saw something I don't usually see in NBA games. So one of the nets, I think, was malfunctioning, and so the referees went to install a new net on the broken basket. So Greg Popovich is like, you got to install it on both of them. And so the announcers for the Pistons were saying, what Pop was saying to the referee was, hey, with the new net, because it's a little tighter, every time the ball goes in, it takes a fraction of a second longer for it to come through the hoop, which would make a difference in terms of the Spurs wanting to run after makes. And that's something that I would never have thought of. It just goes to show you what kind of basketball IQ Pop really has, understanding of all the little intricacies of the game. And something like that I would have never thought of. So I thought it was really interesting. The referees ended up putting new nets on both baskets. So the time between the ball going through the hoop and the new offensive team being able to take it out and throw it in would be about the same.
Yeah, that definitely shows you a lot about Pop. Nothing gets past him, man. He's spotting on everything. I probably wouldn't think of that. Most NBA coaches probably wouldn't think of that.
Yeah, it was really shocking to me. It was really surprising too. I was just like, wait, really? That's a thing? Like I just couldn't wrap my head around how he was able to think of that in the moment while trying to get his second half game plan into the game. And that happens, and he thinks on his feet that quickly. Even Manu Ginobili dapped him up after that, thinking like, hey, man, that was way to think on your feet.
Yeah, Pop is definitely on a different level in coaching. That leads us to our next point. I mean, we're a lot of talk this week about who's a greater threat maybe to the Cavs in the finals, is the Spurs or the Warriors, and Pop could be maybe that difference in that.
Yeah, I know you have some stats that you wanna share with everyone about
Yes.
both of these teams. So I'll make a decision on who I think is a bigger threat after you throw those out there.
So we're going to look at their offensive, defensive ratings, their net rating. So Spurs offensive rating, number 3 in the league, Warriors number 1. Defensive rating, Spurs number 1, Warriors number 6. And then with difference in the rating, the Spurs are number 1 at 14.97 and the Warriors are number 2 at 11.13. And the records at this point right now, the Spurs are 35-6, the Warriors are 37-4. So 2.5 game difference.
That's crazy that they're this close to each other, just because there was so much made about, this historic start to the season for the Warriors, and they're gonna go 82-0. They're gonna beat the 95-96 Bulls 72-10, and the Spurs are right freaking there.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, like, it's hard to say they're sleeping on the Spurs, but I don't think people are noticing how crazy of a season the Spurs are actually having. To be that close to the Warriors and all the hype the Warriors are getting, you think they need to send some more of the Spurs' way.
Yeah, I mean, the Spurs have never gotten their mainstream due, I would say, in terms of recognition. They get it when they win championships, but throughout the regular season, like, I think they've had at least 50 wins or a percentage of greater than 50 wins out of the 82 since Tim Duncan has been on the Spurs. That's when did he get there? Like 98?
Yeah, so
18, 19 years of just dominance, regular season dominance. And then in that, we have 4 championships. I mean, the Spurs don't get their due. They're playing incredible this season. And I think Kawhi Leonard is the best small forward in the league. Based on this year's play, and I'm a Spurs guy in terms of when we're talking about the Spurs versus the Warriors. I think the Warriors had everything go right for them last year when it comes to injuries. I think this year there'll be more hurdles as we get closer to the finish line. I mean, they've had some already with injuries, with Steve Kerr being out, but I don't think it really gets better for them. I mean, that's not the right way I wanted to say it, but I think they still continue to have obstacles that they'll face throughout the season. And I think the Spurs will just beat them in the end.
yeah, it's definitely tough. I think a lot probably would depend on matchup. Like I said, these teams are so close. A lot of people don't know the Spurs are this close to the Warriors. And it also helps maybe the Spurs case that the Warriors, they just got blown out recently a night ago. And that was
That
one
was,
of your games of the week, right?
yeah, that was one of my games of the week. So I hope you guys caught that.
So,
Last week when we both picked the Warriors to win, and we were dead wrong. They were routed. So shout out to the Pistons. Shout out to Stan Van.
yeah, that team has definitely impressed a lot of people. Talking about teams impressing people, we did preseason rankings of all 30 teams in the NBA this past summer, ranked them 1 through 30. So we're going to take a look back at that.
See, I just want to make this clear that you ranked these teams 1 through 30. It was your rankings. So I mean, we'll take a look and see where we're at middle of the season, and just some notable teams, whether what we were thinking beforehand when you were ranking them, and where we think they're at now. So the first team that comes to mind is the Portland Trailblazers, and you had them ranked 28th, and I agreed with you there that they were not going to be good. What were your thoughts going into the season, and what are your thoughts now about the Portland Trailblazers?
I mean, I definitely underestimated CJ McCollum. He's definitely impressed me a lot. He's done a ton of great stuff this season. I did think that if the Blazers were going to have any success, it'd be because of Dame Lillard. And Lillard's played great. He put the team on his back. He's having a great season. And I've been impressed by the front court. They definitely played better than I originally thought. The
Yeah,
ranking's definitely too low, but I'm not sure how low because I would probably say they're still in the bottom tier. If you split the league into 3 tiers, tier 1, 2, and 3, I'd probably put them as a tier 3 team.
yeah, I'm with you on that. They're bottom third in the league, but they have been way better than I thought they would be, for sure. So I'm with you. I'm with you on there. We probably ranked them a little too low. Should be a little bit higher. Like I'd put them ahead of the Lakers, who we have at 25, and the Nets, who we have at 22. So
Mm-hmm.
teams like that, they definitely deserve to be higher than.
Yeah, definitely. I know for a fact one team I was thinking of that I know we messed up with is the Pelicans. I want to say we had them around 11,
Yeah,
and
you nailed it. We had the Pelicans at 11, and here's another team that we had, or two teams right there with them. We had the Wiz at 12 and the Bucks at 13, and all three have severely underachieved.
yeah, they've been big disappointments. I mean, the Pelicans, everyone had high hopes with the Gentry becoming the coach, and the Pelicans showed us some in the playoffs, and this year they've honestly looked like trash.
Is
And
is Anthony Davis as good as everyone says he is? Like I'm a believer in Anthony Davis, but it just hasn't really translated to wins yet. I feel like he's kind of like that Kevin Love sort of player in terms of Kevin Love when he was with Minnesota, probably considered a top power forward, but never really got his team to where he needed to get them. And now that he's with the Cavs, he's a third string kind of guy. Is Anthony Davis that, in your opinion?
I mean, I think Davis is a little bit young, so I'm giving him a year or two before I make any final thoughts. I think a lot of people maybe overrate him in certain aspects of his game where he's just not there yet. I think defensively he has been inconsistent this year, and if he wants to be considered a great player, he needs to put full energy into that. But partially some of that could be all the duties he has to do on the offensive end. My verdict on it, I mean, I think Anthony Davis has all the potential. Sometimes it's hard, I think, for bigs to have such a huge impact on the game for winning and losing if you don't have a good point guard. And their point guard play has been inconsistent, I would say. A lot of injuries. When healthy, Holiday's been good and Evans has been good, but they've been injured a lot.
Yeah, injuries are definitely the theme for the Pelicans for this year. But I mean, they haven't been good even when everyone's been healthy. So I don't
Exactly.
know what's going on with that team. I hope they figure it out. I would like to see Anthony Davis in the playoffs, but it's not happening this year.
The Bucks are another team that you mentioned too. I'm definitely surprised with them. They like forgot what defense was, and they had all their success last year because of the way they played defense. And this year they've done none of that.
Right? We all knew that the Bucks needed shooting help, but we said that banking on their defense from last year to translate over to this year, and they're one of the worst defensive teams in the league. I don't know what the hell happened with them.
Yeah, they're definitely in trouble. I've even heard Greg Monroe has been on in trade rumors, so keep an eye on that.
That's bizarre.
Yeah,
Another team that we had really high was the Rockets. We had them at 6, and they've clearly underachieved.
yeah, they definitely underachieved, especially in the beginning of the season. They got McHale fired, and they played like garbage. but now I guess they're starting to pick it up. So maybe there's still a little bit of hope for that ranking. I think probably as they're playing right now, they still might be in between that tier 1, tier 2.
Right. I would have them, and if I were to seed them 1 through 30, they'd definitely be in double digits. I don't think they're in the top 10.
Yeah.
One more team that we kind of misfired on, and I would say that's the Mavericks at 18. The Mavericks have really impressed me this year. You can't doubt Rick Carlisle. He is an offensive genius. That man can flat out coach basketball, and I just think that they've gotten contributions from Raymond Felton, from Dwight Powell. It's just all over the place with this team, and it's been really fun to watch.
Yeah. One person on the Mavs has definitely impressed me, and I've mentioned before I don't like Darren Williams for what he's done to the Nets, but he's been playing great. He looks like a completely different player than what I saw in Brooklyn. He has so much more confidence. He's hitting clutch baskets in the fourth quarter, closing out games for him, something I've never seen him do in Brooklyn. So good for him. He's back to his hometown. And a lot of guys are just healthy for them. I'm surprised Wes Matthews is already this healthy coming off a torn Achilles. And I think Chandler Parsons has his minute restrictions lifted, and Dirk's making shots. And they got Zaza Pachulia playing crazy. I think I took a shot at him on the preview podcast, and I'm sorry because he's been playing great.
Yeah, he's been awesome. I think Dirk even takes shots at him regularly. Dirk mentioned that the Mavs traded a cooler for Zaza Pachulia. They got him for basically nothing. I think like they traded a second-round pick for the guy. So
Yeah.
that's one of the best deals, one of the best trades of the offseason. That was well done, the Mavs. Well done. Some teams that we did hit the nail on, maybe not in this order, but our top 5 were the Cleveland Cavaliers, Golden State Warriors, San Antonio Spurs, Oklahoma City Thunder, Los Angeles Clippers. And I think that's pretty much the top 5 in the league right now. I would go with that.
Exactly. We got the top 5 right, and that's probably the most important thing. So I'm pretty happy about that.
I don't think we should get too excited. I think that top 5 anyone could have predicted.
Yeah.
But it's nice being right sometimes.
I mean, the top 3, I would say anybody would definitely lock in, but I know 4 and 5, I want to say some people didn't agree with the rankings.
Yeah, I know you mentioned the Cavs at number 1. I was a big proponent of Golden State being number 1. But now, I mean, I'm the one that also said, hey, let's cool it on the Spurs here. I don't know if all the new additions are going to click immediately. And I was completely wrong. They clicked immediately. Kawhi has been great. I think the Spurs should be the number 1 team.
You could probably switch the Cavs and the Spurs on that ranking, and they'd be correct for right now. So it'd be Spurs, Warriors, Cavs, Thunder, and Clippers as 1 through 5.
I'm good with that. I'm good with that. We had the top 5, maybe not in the correct order, but still a long way to go.
Exactly. It's very true.
But also with all these rankings, I know we did a League Pass watchability ranking meter, that sort of thing. So I wanted to revisit that as well. So who is your top League Pass team other than the Brooklyn Nets?
Yeah, I'm definitely a person who will be like into a team for like a few weeks, and then I'll keep switching back and forth. So I watch a lot of different teams, a lot of different players because of fantasy, obviously. But I'll say like right now, I definitely like to watch the Houston Rockets. They don't really play great defense. I like watching James Harden, and they're kind of interesting to watch with all the attitudes out there.
So the show we had against the Rockets was Quantico, ABC's Quantico. Did you ever watch that show?
Yo, Quantico is mad good. I love Quantico.
That's hilarious. So if you had to watch Quantico or the Rockets right now, what are you going with?
This is a tough one because I actually really like Quantico, and it's funny because I think I was like throwing shade on it when we talked about it, but I ended up watching it, and I definitely loved and watched the first season.
So if season 2 was starting,
I'm gonna go with Quantico.
Okay, fair enough. I also watched Quantico. Probably not the same reasons. I mean, I definitely did not like it as much as you.
Yeah, I liked it. I like that kind of show though.
So I mean, I thought the concept of the show was good. The pilot was good. I hated the acting though. I thought it was not good at all. And I mean, Priyanka Chopra's in it, and she's Indian, so of course, every single Indian person I know watches that show because of her. And for me, I'm a little bit more critical of her acting because she is making the jump from Bollywood to now American Hollywood and all that kind of stuff. So I liked the concept of the show, didn't like the execution of it. So I would rather watch the Rockets in that instance.
That's a fair point. I'll enjoy the plot a lot. I'm not huge on the acting, but I usually just you can catch me with a good plot. I'm not a hard viewer to get.
So I know for me, my number one league pass team was the Minnesota Timberwolves, and I've watched them probably like 3 times this entire year. So yeah, false alarm on that one. I was completely wrong. The show we had against that was Dating Naked. I don't know. Have you seen Dating Naked yet?
I have not. I've heard of it.
Okay, so I would totally watch Dating Naked over a Wolves game at this point.
See, the Wolves are tough because in the beginning of the season they were playing like pretty good. Now they definitely cooled off a lot. I never watched that show, so I'm going to go with the T-Wolves just because I can see an Andrew Wiggins crazy dunk any possible time, or Karl Anthony Towns is pretty fun to watch too.
Yeah, he actually just giving you guys a quick preview of games of the week. There's a game that features Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Davis, both Kentucky products this week. We'll pick that later, but just a preview of that, I think that'll be a good one.
Yeah, that should be. Another team
I know the Pelicans were pretty high on our list as well, just because of Anthony Davis and the possibility that Alvin Gentry could make them a really good team. That was up against Are You the One from MTV, and I actually really like that show. I think it's hilarious. So I would totally watch that over the Pelicans. What would you do?
I mean, I honestly am probably not that interested in either show. Either the Pelicans or the Are You the One. I guess I'll go with the Pelicans because I guess they're sort of healthy, and Anthony Davis could always have a crazy night.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Do you have another league pass team that you've really enjoyed watching this year?
I actually like watching the Pistons. I like watching Andre Drummond, and they've been playing better than a lot of people have thought they would, including us, I guess, probably too.
Yeah, we had them at 21, and they've been a lot better than that. I feel like they could go as high as maybe like 7 or 8, but then also go back down to 20. They're in that range, 8 to 20, all over the place. But against the Pistons, we had the show from USA, Suits.
I'm gonna go with the Pistons.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Pistons as well. I used to really like Suits, and now it's complete shit. So I'm not trying to watch Suits. But I do want to mention we had the Nets at 22, which we were both completely wrong about. And also, shout out to Jared Jack. Hope he comes back strong. We had Narcos going up against the Nets.
Narcos kills them. I mean, not for myself, but for any other NBA fan, Narcos was a great show.
Yeah, I enjoyed season 1. I'm looking forward to season 2.
I don't even know if I know one person who watched Narcos who didn't like it. Like, that's how good it is.
I saw Narcos right after I saw Sicario with Emily Blunt, and that movie was great, and the show was great too. I'm a big fan of the drug shows.
Yeah,
Nets. Screw you guys. You guys are whack.
Hey, come on.
I'm sorry, brother. Any other teams you want to talk about before we move on?
Yeah, one more. I mean, obviously, I watch the big name teams like the Cavs and the Warriors, but we're trying to keep it change it up. I like watching Boston. Sometimes they'll play like gritty. They played interesting lineups, a lot of different tweener players, and then Brad Stevens I like to watch his plays, especially out of timeouts or the end of games. He always does some unique stuff. Definitely get a lot watching him.
His out of bounds plays are great, whether they're sideline or baseline, doesn't matter. He does a great job calling him, and the Celtics do a great job executing. They're a fun team to watch, like you said, with all their different lineups and their analytics-based stuff. I think they're fun to watch too. Against the Celtics, we had the Blacklist from NBC.
Another show I love. I know that you don't like it as much as I do.
Yeah, I definitely don't. I mean, it's not bad, but it's not. I'm not in love with it like you are. Who are you picking though?
This is tough. Blacklist right now. It's getting close to the end of the season, so I'm gonna go with Blacklist.
Okay, fair enough. I would probably watch the Celtics, to be honest.
That's fair. I mean, the Celtics are a pretty good NBA watch, so.
Yeah, well, I just want to talk about some of the more primetime teams right before we move on. The Cavaliers, we didn't have anything to go against that, but I would like to propose my own show that would go against the Cavs. I know you enjoy watching the Cavs. You mentioned that on the preview show as well. But would you rather watch? Let's see, what's a good show here? Would you rather watch the Cavs or Making a Murderer on
Ooh,
Netflix?
that was a great documentary. I'm not going to ruin it for anybody, but that's tough. You know what? Pre Kyrie coming back, I'd probably watch Making a Murderer. But with Kyrie back, he brings a lot of excitement to the team. Going with the Cavs.
Okay, so I actually just started Making a Murderer last night. I'm 2 episodes in, and I'm probably gonna go with Making a Murderer, to be honest. I feel like I'm a big time Netflix binger. When I start something, I really want to finish it. Got to know what happens next. It's kind of a bad habit, but yeah,
That's an addicting show too. It's an
yeah,
addicting show.
yeah. It's good. So I would probably watch Making a Murderer. And against the Warriors, we had Game of Thrones.
Hmm.
Thoughts? What are your thoughts?
That is actually funny because it's like I don't know. It's like some cartoon series that they take like Game of Thrones. They take other characters and turn them into Game of Thrones characters, and they did that to the Warriors team, and it was like a pretty little funny cartoon thing. Definitely Google it.
Yeah, I think Bleacher Report did that.
Yeah, Bleacher Report. That's what it was from. Yeah, that was definitely pretty funny. I'm gonna go with the Warriors just because they're just fun to watch, man. Any night they can just light it up, and a different group of guys could be lighting it up any night. You got Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, then you got Draymond Green, who's grabbing triple doubles everywhere. I'm going with the Warriors.
Yeah, I'm going with the Warriors too. I've never seen Game of Thrones. I feel like I should. I feel like I've been pressured enough to do it. I'm finally going to give in. But for right now, we're going to go with the Dubs. But we might explore this topic later on at the end of the year when we discuss League Pass rankings or whatever else we'll do. But I wanted to move on to games of the week. And last week we started out with 5 games. I had never done 5 games before. Usually had 6, but I liked how the 5 games worked. So I think from now on we're just going to continue with 5 games. Keep it to a starting 5. We're losing our 6th man. Last week was not a great week for you. You went 1-4, and it wasn't that great of a week for me either. I went 3-2. So my overall record is 32-19, and yours is 24-27. So hopefully you get back above 500 this week.
Yeah, I need to start spending some more time on these game of the week's predictions.
Yeah, well, the first game is a tough one. It's the Warriors at the Cavs, 8 o'clock TNT, Monday night.
All right, the Cavs let me down against the Spurs. I'm pretty sure I picked the Cavs to win. They were playing pretty well in the first half, and they kind of blew that one. LeBron didn't seem too happy. I think they want to send a message. I said the same thing last week. I'm picking the Cavs.
Yeah, I'm actually picking the Cavs here too. I can't quite remember who I picked for Christmas Day, but I think with Kyrie back and his feet finally under him, I think we'll get a rematch of what we got Game 1 of the NBA Finals. So I'm going with the Cavs here.
Yeah, and I mean, who knows? The Warriors might have taken a hit to their confidence taking a blowout loss. So
yeah, I mean they could even come out
guns blazing
too, trying to prove a point that hey, this was a one-time thing. We don't get blown out. So I think it's a really intriguing matchup. I think it's even more intriguing than the first one. So I'm definitely tuning into this one. On Tuesday, January 19th, 8 p.m., NBA TV. This is the fan night game. The Wolves at the Pelicans.
This is a tough one. These are both tier 3 teams. I'm going to go with the Pelicans, though. Hopefully Anthony Davis can show up Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah, that's the reason this matchup is here, aside from the fact that it's on NBA TV, because NBA TV has an incredible pre- and post-game show when they have their fan nights. Definitely worth checking out for that. And also worth checking out because Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Davis get to go against each other. They're kind of similar players. It's versatile, big, can shoot threes, play on the perimeter a little bit, Kentucky products. I think these two will have battles throughout the next decade and change. So I think this is a beginning of a great rivalry that we'll see in the Western Conference. But with all that being said, I'm also going with oh, no, I'm not going to go with the Pelicans. I want to go with the Wolves to pull an upset here because I don't trust either team. So
yeah, they definitely can go either way.
Wednesday night, an Atlantic Division showdown at 7:30 on League Pass. Celtics at Raptors.
This should be a good game. You know, the Raptors have definitely impressed me this year, so I'm going to go with them.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Raptors as well. I actually really like watching the Raptors. They're fun. I'm a big Kyle Lowry fan. I hope he gets into the All-Star game over Kyrie Irving. He's been probably a top 3 point guard this year, even though our OTG rankings don't really reflect that. But I'd put him up at 3.
He got some, I think, help from Drake for the All-Star voting, so he's got a good push. So that maybe that'll help.
He might get Biebs again too, man. That's what he got. He got Biebs last year to get him in, so
Yeah,
you never know. All right, Thursday, January 21st, 10 p.m. One of those late games. Hopefully, Adam Silver gets this down to like 9 o'clock. That'd be awesome. 10 p.m. League Pass. Hawks at Kings.
the Kings have been picking it up lately, I'm pretty sure. And the Hawks, I don't know. Like sometimes I watch them, they look like the good team that they were last season. Other times it's just like everything's messed up. They seem confused. They're not making their shots. I'm gonna go with the Kings. I usually would go with the Hawks, but I don't know. I'm just feeling the Kings on this one.
I am going to go with the Kings as well. Do I have any confidence in that? Absolutely not. But I do expect Paul Millsap to just absolutely bang on someone like he did John Henson the other day. That was incredible. Check that Vine out.
He like kind of just did it like he had a slow approach to the rim, and out of nowhere he just like picks it up and slam.
Banged it on him, dude.
Yeah,
It was nice. Final game of the week, Friday, 22nd, 7:30 League Pass. Clips at Knicks.
yeah. The Knicks have definitely impressed me too. I would say. I think as a team they've definitely improved a lot. Some of the guys have definitely stepped up into bigger roles than I originally thought, and Carmelo's playing some good basketball. But I'm going to go with the Clippers because I know they're not still on their winning streak, or they are. I know they're at 10 games.
Yeah, they I think they had 10 and they just lost to the Kings on Saturday night.
Yeah, so they'll probably get rolling again. They're just picking it up and rolling right now.
Yeah, Blake Griffin should be back. I think during this road trip you'll see a Blake Griffin sighting. So I'm going to go with the Clips too, but I don't really care about this game, to be honest. What I do want to talk about, though, is Kristaps Porzingis has his second Latvian hip-hop song released. This one as well is a banger. So if you want to check those out, it's on the site. It's on Games of the Week. Just read the article. Scroll down to the bottom. There are 2 links for you right there. Check both songs out. They're both bangers. Next time you're in an Uber, tell your Uber driver to play this song, and it's going to get live. So definitely check that out. Shout out to the 2 Latvian rap groups that blessed us with their music.
Yeah, there's your pre-gaming music right there before you go out, get hyped up. And that wraps it up for today. As always, thank you guys for listening.
Yeah, thank you for listening. Once again, follow us on Twitter, OTG Basketball. We'll try to be more interactive on there, so just feel free to reply. If you like the podcast, feel free to subscribe to us on SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube. Give us a like, comment if you didn't like it, what we could improve on. Just give us your thoughts. Feel free to be mean. We're all in good spirits. So thank you for listening, and see you next week.